Hey everyone, I'm Ace of Clay. I'm a sculptor, and every week I make a new sculpture. Today we are in the hidden world and you get to meet my next character, the Music Box Boy. He has quite the tragic story and I will be sharing all of the details throughout this entire video, so make sure you watch the whole thing so you don't miss any of them. If you're not familiar with the hidden world, it is a universe of original characters that I have created. I have a playlist on my channel so you can see every single character I've released so far. Speaking of the hidden world, don't forget to grab your Winston the Rabbit Guide keychain. This is one of my good characters and he is available in keychain form in this collectible box that you can have autographed by me. Out of the box he looks like this. He's super cute, barely 2 inches tall, comes with a strap, a little hidden world charm, and a lobster claw clasp, and his mask glows in the dark. He's available right now at aceofclay.com if you want to grab one for yourself. Now let's meet the Music Box Boy. Alright, let's get started with the armature. I've got a wooden sculpture base with pre-drilled holes and some 10 gauge armature wire, and we're going to start shaping out this guy's body. After creating one side of the body, I mirrored it to create the other and then attached it with the neck with some 16 gauge wire. Now I'm going to brush on some bacon bond and start bulking out the torso with some super sculpty ultralight. In the decayed ruins of a forgotten town in the hidden world, where the wind carried whispers of sorrow, a small figure wandered the broken streets. He was called the Music Box Boy, a name given to him by those who glimpsed his sorrowful silhouette beneath the flickering lamplight. His body was thin and frail, with his skin pallid as wax, but it was the sound that truly haunted those who encountered him. A soft, melancholic melody that followed him wherever he went, drifting from the tiny, wooden music box he clutched to his chest like a lifeline. As you can see, after baking the ultralight, we've covered everything in some Super Sculpey Original, and now I'm shaping out his pants and adding some folds and wrinkles to them with some snakes of clay. And we're going to give him some old-fashioned trousers, so we just need to bulk things out a little bit more with some more clay. No one knew where he came from, only that he had always been there, endlessly walking, endlessly winding the delicate key of his music box. Now it's time to work on his jacket. I cut out this piece from Cosclay because Cosclay stays flexible after it's baked, and I'm just attaching it to the body. I want to flare it out a little bit at the bottom and then blend that top edge in with the rest of him. Before going any further, I just want to roll the grip of this sculpting tool on the surface to create a fabric texture. Now I'm going to use my super poker to create the front closure of the jacket. Now it's time for some buttons after I brush on some bacon bond so they stick real nice. Using this sculpting tool, I'm going to flatten the buttons and give them a little bit of a design. After trimming his pants a little bit, we're going to brush the surface with clay softener to remove fingerprints and get this guy in the oven. Once he's baked and cooled down, I'm going to use my pliers to carefully position his arms, and then we're going to start adding some clay to them. He had once been a boy with a name, a family, a life filled with laughter. He had once had a mother who tucked him in at night, a father who carried him on his shoulders, and a little sister who begged him to play her favorite tune on the small wooden music box they had found together at a dusty antique shop. Now, unfortunately, this guy did get a hairline crack due to trapped air, so what I'm doing to fix it is I'm breaking away more clay around the crack, and then we are going to fill the area with bacon bond and then pack in some more clay and resculpt. If you just fill the crack alone with more polymer clay and bake it again, it's just going to crack again, if not worse than the first time. So you need to solve the entire issue and get rid of all the air. If the crack would have happened on my last bake, let's say, I would have just filled it with epoxy sculpt and been done, but because I have to bake it again, I needed to prevent future cracks. After finishing up the sleeves, I'm just going to texture them like the rest of his coat. And now we can move on to his fancy collar. Because his collar is really thin and there will be some free hanging areas of it, I'm making it out of cos clay. And I brushed on some Bacon Bond so it sticks. And we're going to finish off the collar with a little bit of a ruffle. Then, the town fell into darkness. He had run, hid, but it hadn't mattered. The false guide had found him. He whispered to him in a voice that slithered into his thoughts like oil. "You will not die, little one. No, I have something else for you." Now we're finishing off his legs with some socks. And some shoes. Let's finish off the shoes with some laces. And to make it look like his pants are rolled up a little bit, we're adding a flattened snake of clay to cap them off. Alright, we're going to take a quick break from this video to talk about our sponsor, BetterHelp. I always have so much going on in my business and my personal life, and after a while, it can really be a lot. I feel like I'm doing too much, and then I feel like I'm not doing enough, and then I just get so overwhelmed that I just freeze. When that happens, that can lead to things like anxiety, depression, and so on. Talking to a therapist allows me to work through my struggles. With BetterHelp, you get a safe place to talk where you can share what's on your mind, whether it's stress, sadness, worries, or relationship issues, without fear of judgment. The therapist, a trained mental health professional, is there to listen, answer questions, and help you see things from new perspectives. There's a journal inside the platform for personal reflection, and there are group sessions available every day on a number of different topics. Fill out a questionnaire and you will match with a therapist in as little as a couple of days. One of the best features about BetterHelp is that if your first therapist isn't the right fit, you can switch to another one until you find someone you really connect with. They carefully make sure that all of their therapists are well qualified, and their customer care team is available if you have any questions at all. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. So if you're struggling and you feel like you could benefit from a therapy session, head on over to the link in the description box below or go to betterhelp.com/aceofclay. That's better, H-E-L-P. Doing so helps support this channel and will get you 10% off your first month of therapy. Now let's make his music box. Out of a chunk of clay, I'm using my blade to cut out the shape of the box, and then I'm going to trim it with a nice thin snake of clay. Now I'm just going to add a little lock in the front. Now using my Explorer tool, let's add a wood grain texture. And let's finish it off with a bigger snake of clay for the base. Now let's start his head. Want to ball up some aluminum foil to create the core and then cover it in some super sculpty living doll. The boy had screamed as his body was reshaped. His limbs stiffened, his veins filled with something cold and unyielding. His voice had been taken, his face locked behind a frozen expression, and his soul bound to the music box. The very one that had once brought his sister joy. It was no longer a simple toy. It was his prison. If the song ever stopped, he would cease to exist. I want this guy to have a very innocent, angelic looking face, so we're going to make everything really smooth, almost like a porcelain mask or porcelain doll. So I've added the eyes, and we are adding the lower lids first, blending them in with my spoon tool, and then the upper lids, of course. I want to give him a very wide-eyed, stark expression. like he's almost locked in a trance. Now I'm going to add a snake of clay to create his lips, and then blend the edges in with my spoon tool. Using my explorer tool, I am pressing in the opening for his mouth, and then his chin. After adding a couple more details on his face, let's pop on his ears. Now before I go any further, I want to attach his head, so I'm filling that hole with Bacon Bond and pressing it onto his body. Now I'm going to use my cone shaper and small ball stylus to add the final touches. Yet, despite the cruelty of his fate, he refused to be what the false guide had intended, a creature of despair. The music box boy roamed the wastelands of the hidden world, seeking out those who still suffered. His music, though cursed, had a strange power. When he wound the box and let the notes fill the air, it brought fleeting peace to those in pain. The dying felt warmth instead of fear. The lost felt found, and even twisted mutants who had once been human paused, as if remembering something distant and beautiful. Alright, we are working on his hair. Gonna give him a nice fancy side part. Just blending that clay in, getting the shape that I want, and then detailing the hair texture with my Explorer tool. The curvature of the Explorer tool allows me to get nicely into all of these rounded nooks and crannies, and I'm using my Super Poker to detail the hair on the rest of his head. I do sell the Super Poker on my website if you want to grab one for yourself, along with a bunch of other stuff. Now I'm just adding some flyaways with Cos clay, and then we're going to bake him one final time. Once he's baked and cooled down, it's time for paint. I'm going to be painting this guy with brushes only, no airbrush, and we're going to start with his skin. After getting the base color of the skin on, I'm just dry brushing on some lighter colors here to highlight things, and then paint the whites of his eyes. I tinted the white with a little bit of his skin tone color just so they're not stark white. Using a fine tip paintbrush and some watered down black, we're going to create some stylized dark circles around his entire eye. To exaggerate the dark circles a little bit more and add some character, I'm adding some fine lines going outwards. But each time he played, the false guide's grip tightened. The dark force that had remade him did not want him to bring peace. It wanted him to spread sorrow, to be an omen of despair. Every note of kindness he played made his chains heavier, his own suffering deeper. As you can see, after painting his eyes black, I added a little bit of brown. Now we're going to add some white dots to create a reflection. Now his hair needs a nice dark brown base coat. Now we're going to work on the hairline and fine-tune things with my fine-tipped paintbrush. For his clothing color palette, we're going to go with some nice beigey shades of gray. Starting with his coat, we got this nice medium tone here. I'm going to add a darker wash using the same color, just tinted with a little more black and brown, wiping off the excess with a paper towel, and then we are going to finish it off with a dry brushing of a lighter gray. To bring out the detail in his hair and sort of dull it out a little bit, I'm dry brushing on some gray. I love how it just catches onto the lines so effortlessly. I'm going to give him some striped pants. We're going to start with the base color, of course, and then go in with some darker brown for the stripes. If you ever need to create a long stroke of paint like this, you can water down your paint just a little bit so it increases the flow and you don't have to stop in the middle of your line or whatever you're painting to add more paint. It also goes on less thick. Now let's paint his socks, another nice shade of grayish, and his shoes. Now let's finish up that music box. Now using my gallery metallic paint markers, I'm going to color up all of the metal areas on the music box. And I do have a code with gallery if you want to save 10%, just go to the link below or use code AceofClay at checkout. For little details like this, if you want to paint them metallic, these markers are great. They're so easy to use and you just have so much control. Now instead of painting the base black, I want to give it a sort of stained wood look, rustic, aged stained wood, so I'm just adding my layer of dark brown paint and then wiping off the excess with a paper towel. Gives it this nice finish. Still, he did not stop, because once he had been a boy with a family, and though he had lost everything, he would not lose himself. So he wandered, forever winding the key, forever playing his mournful song, both a curse and a gift. And that's the story of the Music Box Boy. All right, let's get that box glued on and say it with me. And he's done! The Music Box Boy is complete. Let me know what you think of this sculpt and his backstory in the comments. This little guy came to me several years ago, actually. I've been wanting to make him, but it just never seemed like the right time. And I don't even know if right now is the right time for it, but I really wanted to get him out and I really hope you guys liked him. So again, let me know what you think of him in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching and being here. Don't forget to check out aceofclay.com to see all of my latest sculpting products, Hidden World merch, and more. Check me out on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok at aceofclay, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.